Welcome back to the channel. I'm Igor, this is Test Automation channel, and today we are going to dive deep into debugging topic. We will use Playwright and we will use local machine, and we'll see different ways on how you can find the root cause of failed tests. There will be 5 to 6 different ways to efficiently find out the reason. Our first step is to install Playwright locally. In order to do so, let's open Playwright documentation and copy installation command. Let's open empty folder and launch, let's make it bigger a little bit, and copy paste our installation command. It will take a while. We will use TypeScript. It will be tests folder and with GitHub actions. We are waiting a little bit, and first of all I'm going to show you how to run tests in different modes. First modification will be simple run with all default settings. By default we have parallel true. That means that each test in test file going to run in parallel, but it also depends on how many workers you have. Right now, locally, if it's not CI, we have only one worker. Also, we are wondering which reporters are available, and by default, it's only HTML. We will get back to it later. And there are a couple of options available for use settings. One of them is trace. It's super useful, where you can see every possible step available during the test run. We will get back to it later as well. So for now, we just going to launch our test as is. In order to do so, you can use npx playwright test command. This command going to launch all the existing tests, including projects which you have. By default, it's Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. As we can see, 6 tests are passed in total, and by default we don't have any reports opened. And by default, Playwright does not open test report unless you have some failed test. And in order to open test report, you need to run npx playwright show report command, and this command going to open for you the last available report. In our case, we can see that Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit, and WebKit browser has passed. Right, and what about the case when some of the test is failing? Let's open the test and let's have some failed check. Let's say we are not expecting to have Playwright 1, and so test should fail. Let's see what will happen. Again, we are rerunning our test, waiting a bit, and we should have an error. As you can see, we have 3 failures right now, and we can take a look at our console logs to see what's happened there. Your first source to find out the reason of the failure is your terminal. Of course, you can see that fast and reliable end-to-end testing for modern web apps, Playwright does not contain Playwright 1. That's expected. It shows you the line where test had failed and projects in which test failed. In order to have visual checks, you can open test report. By default, report file opens automatically if you have some failed tests. And inside you can see a string of failed test and pattern which expected to have. Also, it shows you test step at which test has failed. Attachment section contains useful information which you can inspect and find out also other reasons of why test could fail. Next, what we are going to do is, what if we want to launch not all the tests but some exact one? For that, we can specify a path to the file. For instance, let's say we have a couple of files, example and example 1, and we want to run the test only from example. For that, we are going to specify test example 1 example.spec.ts, and now we should be running the same amount of tests as you can see here, and this could be useful in order to reduce waiting time and check only specific tests. Next, what you can do is specify even a line which you want to run. For example, we have has title test get started link, and we want to check only has title. For that, you can specify line number 3. You can do it like this, and as you can see, tests are reduced and we have only 3 tests running. That's because we have 3 different profiles, and we can reduce it on also to only 1 file, 1 test run. In order to do so, you can comment existing 2. Now we should be able to run only Chromium. To do so, let's try 1 test using 1 worker. As you can see, you can simply do it by just semicolon, specifying line number. Alright, next item in our list is grep function. We can grep any text, any test name from our test. For example, our test has title name. We can use grep function and specify only title. Let's see, we have 2 tests which contains title key, has title, and those tests are located in example 1 and example files. Also pretty useful, you can have multiple values, for example title and what else? Link. Title and link. Title or link, sorry. It would take both values. As you can see, we have 4 tests to run in both example 1 and example file. Good. Next, we are going to run debug mode. What's that? So, let me show you. Again, we want to have, let's say, only has title. Another way to reduce number of tests, you can use .only, which means from this file we are going to run only this test, has title. Let's see how it works. Also, we are going to use debug command. And in debug command, we are going to see the browser itself. We have all the commands from our test files, and we can go one by one with debugging and seeing test results after each step. For example, first step is opening our home page. Next, we are expecting to have some Playwright title. But during this mode, you can also find some locators. For example, there is a mod pick locator, right? And using this mod, you can find the way how to address locator. And also, what else? You can find any locator you want on the page. For example, you want to find this section, or you can want to find footer section, and get by role content info. You can copy this and use in your test. It's super powerful and helps you to address issues quickly. As you can see, we are navigating one by one, and right now we should fail on exactly on this step. Yes, that's what happened actually, and we can go ahead and see the result. It is pretty powerful and useful, so if you want to pick up exact locator or you don't know how to find the locator, just use --debug mode. That's it, and you are good to go. Next is even more powerful mode, which called UI mode. UI mode has a lot of description on Playwright site. As if you open the docs, I'll going to leave links under video descriptions, so you will find each mode separately with a link to it, and you can read more about it. But if we'll take a look quickly at it, this is a window which launched with UI mode. It shows you all the available tests. You can run tests one by one, or you can run only one test, for example, get started link. And during the run, you see a lot of useful information. First of all, you can see step one by one what is happening during the launching of your test. You can see each step and the result as well. Next, you are having your actions available to you, and you see what action has been performed and what it actually does. In the same time, you have so many other useful information. For instance, you have network requests. Just imagine you see absolutely every network request during your test run. So you can easily address issues as, for example, one of the API call is failing and you don't know which one exactly. Here, you can, for example, sort by method. You can sort by content type and, for example, review only meaningful requests. As we can see, we have a bunch of JS X unknown request content types failed, which could be a reason to raise a bug and investigate with your developer. So also it contains metadata, which tells you a size of the window, which tells you time and duration which takes, user agent which it used. Also we have source code, so it shows you exactly a code from your source code actually, and all the calls available. Logs, here we can see networks logs in console, no console entries, okay, we don't have it for this side, and no errors as well, no attachments. But generally speaking, this is the best, one of the best way to debug failure in your test. Alright, it was UI mode. Next mode is little bit more difficult to set up, but it's called traces. So after the test has finished, we have some traces left, and usually these traces looks like UI mode. For example, you are running test on CI and test is failing. You don't know the reason, the exact reason, and in order to find out the root cause, we can use trace mode. For that, let's launch our test in a little bit different mode. Let's get back to our Visual Studio and let's use option trace on. This option enables traces, and right after the test you are going to have trace file which you will use to debug and address the issues. Let's find out. We are waiting for test results, and of course we have our HTML report which is open by default, but also we have a trace attached right now, as you can see, and by just clicking on that trace file you will see more or less the same window as we had in UI mode with your test results. First of all, there is a timeline available with screenshots on its way. Next, again, you see all the actions performed, you see exact step which failed, you see the expression, parameters expected to have title, expected text to have, and actual reason. So you received this string but expected to have Playwright one. And I don't know, it's just super powerful. No other frameworks will provide you such an extensive traces to debug the issue. You will see any kind of information you want, and basically the error itself. Also, it shows you a line at which this error happened. And that's when you run it locally. But if we are talking about CI mode, we need to enable such traces for CI mode. And in order to do so, let's get back to our Playwright configuration file, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And we are interested in use section. So in use section, you see our traces, and it says on first retry. What it means is that if your test fail, you can enable retry option, and only on first retry we are going to record the trace. You can change it to, for example, let's see, on, off. On means we are going to trace every test, even if it's a successful one. I want to notify you that the test will be slowed down a little bit, so just be careful with it. And I would suggest to use on first retry, actually, to have only one retry. On CI 2 is probably too much. One should be fine. And on first retry, we are going to have a traces. But if it's fine for you, you can just enable it, and you should be good to go as well. I want to show you how to run your local test with headed mode, which means you will see actual browser actions, because by default it's in headless mode. In order to do so, it's super easy. You can have headed parameter, and it should be it. As you can see, test is launched, and now we will have failed result. Yep, as expected. Finally, and most interesting, the last but definitely not the least option is Playwright plugin for Visual Studio Code. Yes, if you are using Visual Studio Code, I would definitely recommend you to search for a plugin which called in the same way as our framework, Playwright, and developed under Microsoft team, and it's safe to install and use. So after the installation, you will get test tab, where you can actually configure the test. For example, you have a couple of configuration, you have a couple of tools. You can use the pick locator command. You can actually, if you're using pick locator command, test has started, and it's just super useful. Let me show you how it will work. So first of all, we want to show browser. In order to see UI interaction, let's show trace view. Show browser would be better just for the beginning. And what is more powerful is breakpoints. Like, look, you can first of all launch any test with just this green triangle with run command, and look how easy it's done, right? It's just super easy. You will have test result table, and in the same way it will show you actual failed test and the result. In the same time, you can run tests in a couple of modes. First of all, you can just run the test, but also you can debug the test. And during debugging the test, you are going to stop on this step, and well, what you can do, you can see all the values which you currently have. For example, page instance with all the available methods. It's pretty useful for the debugging mode, and by using this mode you can find out any kind of value which you want to. But also, let's get back to pick locator, and now you are available to find the locator, and also you see the result, right? This is locator, and you can just simply copy it and find out and use it. Actually, let's change our test to green one, and this is the window which we are looking for. We can stop here. That's because we are on pause mode, and that's why we stopped. Let's debug again. And in order to stop in debug mode, you just need to hit stop button. And that's it. Let's run test again. And now we should have green results. Yep, that's true. And browser is still opened, which means we can navigate to pick locator mode and find out the locator. See how easy it is. So you don't need anymore to inspect, use DevTools to find some locator. For example, you want to find locator for header. No need for that. Just use pick locator mode and you will be good to go. For example, this one, and Playwright tab will show you all the necessary information. Alright folks, that was it. It was a short video and I showed you 5-6 different ways to debug it, and even on CI there are some of options to quickly address the issues. If you have some questions, write down under the video and see you next time.